Hey, what's up guys? Today I want to show you how I would fix a dent that's on a part like this hood I'm about to spray after you've already started applying your paint. See, what happened was my colleague sanded this hood for me and I didn't see this little dent till I started base coating it. And now that I've applied 2 coats of base, I see the dent. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sand it down, apply a little bit of fine putty on it, and sand it down again. And I'm gonna show you how I do that. Now what I'm gonna be using to do this is this. Okay, so what I have here is, I have a 600, an 800, a 1000 grit paper, a cup of water, a soft sanding block, and a hard 3-inch sanding block. And so the first paper and block I'm gonna start using is, I'm gonna start with this hard 3-inch block, and I'm gonna start with the 600 grit first to flatten down the dent a little bit, remove some of the base coat from it because you can't apply putty over base coat. And then once I remove it and flatten it a little bit, I'm gonna apply my putty. I'm gonna wet the surface where the dent is and start blocking it out. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make sure that I remove almost all the base coat from this area, because the fine putty will not stick unless you remove all the paint. Now you see that dark spot where this ring is? This is exactly where our dent is. Now I'm gonna leave that little bit of material there, and I'm gonna come and apply my fine putty on that spot. And dry it up with a rag and get my fine putty. This dark spot right here is a perfect indicator of where that dent is. That's why I'm not removing that material from there. I basically removed all the base coat. Okay, so what I'm gonna be using here is a fine putty that I have in the shop. This doesn't need any hardener. I use this to fill in little pinholes in the primer or in whatever parts that I'm painting. This is a good little fine putty that you use. You can get this anywhere. This is just a little fine putty that painters use for any paint job to fill in any pinholes on any jobs. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna apply this over that area, not too heavy, just a thin coat, and then I'm gonna block it out with my hard block and the 600. You only need a thin coat over that spot. Nice even coat. So as you can see, I went further out from where the dent was, filling in the area surrounding it. That way when I sand it, the only area that's gonna stay with this putty is the area where the dent was. Now I'm gonna let this sit for like 10 minutes, let it dry good, and then I'm gonna come sand it. All right, this is all dried up. My next step is gonna be to sand it one more time with the 600 grit paper and the flat block. You wanna use a hard block like this. This is a hard rubber 3-inch block. This is a 3M block. This block is specifically used to do wet sanding. So make sure when you're wet sanding, use a hard little block like this. Make sure to keep it wet when you're sanding it. That's why we're using wet sandpaper. Also make sure to keep your block flat. Don't angle it ever when you're sanding. Keep it always flat. There we go. See that? Let's try this up real quick. You see how nicely that filled in? Let me get you guys in closer. See that? That's nicely filled in. That's exactly where that little dent was. Now I'm grabbing my soft block. This soft block is basically a standard in a body shop to do wet sanding. This is one of the best soft blocks you'll probably find in the body shop. It is made by Motor Guard, and the part number is SB1 Motor Guard soft block. If you guys want to pick one of those up, if you don't have one already. Now I'm gonna go over this with some 800 grit wet sandpaper right now. And the reason why I go 600, 800, and then 1,000 is because we already have base coat on here, and if we leave it with 600, the sand scratches are gonna be too deep for the base coat to fill in because you're sanding on base coat. It's not, old material. You're sanding on base coat, and this base coat is still fresh. So you want to step it up. You want to go 600, 800, and 1,000 to smoothen it out. That way, when you base coat it, it's nice and smooth. And my final sandpaper, 1,000 grit. Now I'm making sure to sand more outside of the region where the dent was because I want to make sure I feather out all of the sand scratches that are on the base coat from when I was originally sanding the dent. This is gonna make sure that the base coat is smoothened out. When you rebase coat it, it's good to go. All right, that looks good. Squeegee your water off with this, dry it with a rag. Hit it with a little bit of air to make sure it's absolutely 100% dry. Give it a quick wipe with your tack rag. Hit it with a spot of can primer because you can't put paint on bare metal. Don't do that. Spot primer, then base coat it. Let this spot primer dry properly and apply your base coat. That looks good. What do you think, guys? That looks pretty good. It was a simple fix and it was done properly. Guys, thank you for watching. If this video was helpful, please hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell so that you can be notified every time I post a new video. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye. Peace.